I want you to be 5 for 5 in your fight against MS. And in this video, I'm going to continue our discussion on how to live your best life despite having MS. Don't turn away because that starts right now. Howdy, and thanks for learning about MS with me, Aaron Boster. This video is part 4 in a series I've been doing on how to live your best life despite having MS, using the method of being 5 for 5 in your fight. It's a plan that I use in clinic with families impacted by MS, something I've cultivated with my patients over the last 17 years of practice. If you've missed the earlier videos, definitely please check them out. I'll throw a card up here so you can go back if you'd like to. We've been discussing how to be 5 for 5 in your fight against MS. In the last video, we covered number 1 and number 2. So if you missed those, definitely check those out. In this video, we're marching forward and we're going to cover 3, 4, and 5. Let's jump in. Number 3, as we strive to be 5 for 5 in your fight against MS, is to eat smart. What you eat matters. And unfortunately, a lot of American physicians don't spend enough time or energy educating related to nutrition. In MS, it makes a really, really big difference. There's a lot of videos on this channel about nutrition in MS, so I'll throw a card up here and you can certainly check that out, but I wanted to discuss it with you now. I'm going to go through at least 5 things that I want you to be thinking about as it relates to diet and nutrition. The first is that we need to up your water game. Most Americans run around super dehydrated, and in the setting of MS, that can wreak havoc. It can make multiple symptoms worse, including symptoms of bowel and bladder, including spasticity, even including cog fog. Being dehydrated is bad news bears, and if you don't believe me, I double dog dare you to up your water game and see what happens. We need gals to be drinking about 100 ounces of water a day, and gentlemen to be drinking about 120. I recommend that you accomplish this by inserting a 20-ounce glass of water with breakfast, a 20-ounce glass of water with lunch, and a 20-ounce glass of water with dinner. It's not that bad. Then I need you to drink 1 glass of water between breakfast and lunch, and 1 glass of water between lunch and dinner. That's going to be all 100 ounces. And you've finished by the dinner hour. This is really important. Most of us don't drink enough during the course of the day, and when we get home, and we're really, really thirsty, and we start pounding water, maybe even bringing water to the bedside table. The problem with that is that we make urine for 6 hours after we drink something. And so if you're drinking late into the evening, you're guaranteed to wake up multiple times and have to go to the bathroom. If you drink 2/3 of all the water you're going to drink in the first half of your day, and you stop around dinner hour, you're not going to be actively making as much urine when you go to bed. You're also not going to be dehydrated in the evenings and feel like you need to drink water. Upping your water game is really key, and it's the very first thing I want folks with MS to think about as they're starting to improve their nutrition. The second thing is to focus on vitamin D3. Turns out that low levels of vitamin D increase the risk to develop MS. And if you have MS, low levels of vitamin D drive the disease faster. Supplementing vitamin D, I like to use D3 because I think it's better absorbed in the human body, is a really important step related to nutrition and MS. Now, I practice in sunny Columbus, Ohio, where it's not that sunny, and in fact, about 5 months out of the year, we really don't see the sun very much at all. And oftentimes, when I'm checking vitamin D 25OH levels, that's the blood test that I order, I can see vitamin D levels that are in the gutter. They're literally like single digits, like 9. Now, we need that level above 50, but below 100. That's the window that we want to get you in. And oftentimes, we supplement vitamin D by taking D3. 5,000 international units is a pretty standard dose that I'll give my patients. Although sometimes we need to use more intense doses, like 50,000 weekly. And then we follow the levels to push them up and keep them up in that range. Something that I think is really awesome is you can get D3 through the sun for free. If you go out in a halter top or shirtless for 15 minutes in full sun, you'll absorb 5,000 international units of D3. And so if you can be in a private location where you're not going to freeze to death, you might consider doing that once a day just to get your D3 that fashion. We've got the water game. We've got D3. What's next? Real quick before we go on, do me a solid favor. If you like this video, would you give it a thumbs up, please? Also, if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please consider doing so. Those two actions teach the YouTube algorithm that you really like this content and help push it out so more people impacted by MS can benefit. Thank you. The next step in nutrition is quite hard, and that is to avoid processed food, sugar-laden foods, fried foods, fast foods, diet foods, soda pop, and foods with ingredients that you can't pronounce. Now, that is a big thing to change if you're not used to eating in a healthy fashion. And it literally changes how and where you shop. You'll need to shop at the perimeter of the grocery store. That's where real food is found. The stuff in the center of the grocery store, that's highly processed, packaged, and it'll last forever on the shelf. Guys, food should not preserve. Food should rot. And if you can move towards avoiding processed foods, if you can shy away from fast foods and sugar-laden foods, you're going to find many things about your MS get easier. Not only will you have a better body composition and lose a lot of weight, but you'll have massive more energy. You'll think more clearly. You'll have less depression. If you don't think this is true, I dare you to try it for a month, and you will be absolutely shocked at the change when you shy away from those things. Fast food is not real food. And if you can't understand the ingredients, well, that's not food. Those are chemicals, and I don't want you to eat that. Up your water game, supplement your vitamin D, and avoid processed foods and foods with ingredients that you can't pronounce. The next thing I want you to think about is what I call your macronutrients, making sure in specific that you're getting enough protein. Protein, in my opinion, is the most important macronutrient. I want you to eat your protein first at each meal, and we're shooting for 1 gram of protein for every kilogram of body weight. So that means 1 gram of protein for every 2.5 pounds that you weigh. And you can divide that up over the course of your day, your different meals. I need about 70 grams of protein a day, and I eat 2 meals a day, and so I need to make sure I'm getting about 35 grams of protein in each of those meals, and I choose to get that up front. There's lots of different fantastic forms of protein. If you're a vegetarian, there's a host of fantastic proteins that are available that are vegetarian. If you're a meat eater, then there's plenty of lean, fantastic meats that you can eat. And the goal here is that we want to get 1 gram per kilo. Getting in protein is important. It's the building blocks for everything in your body, and it's satiating. It's going to fill you up, and it's going to make it much easier to achieve diet goals and body composition goals. It's also going to make you feel better. The next thing that I want you to pay attention to is fiber. Now, unfortunately, most American diets are nearly devoid of fiber. Fast food has like no fiber in it because fiber takes longer to cook, and so they've extracted it. We need to have fiber in our diets. It's really important for our gut health. It's really important as a tool for body composition, and it's missing, so we need to add it back in. I want you to get 25 grams of fiber if you're a gal, and about 35 grams of fiber if you're a guy each day. And there's lots of different natural ways of getting fiber. Fruits and vegetables like plums, pears, apples, prunes are fantastic for fiber. Berries have a lot of fiber. Avocado has a lot of fiber. Green vegetables are packed full of fiber. And if it's hard for you to get an adequate amount of fiber through your diet, you can supplement with a fiber supplement, just like you can supplement protein with a good protein supplement. But I want to make sure that we're getting those in. My last comment about nutrition before we move on to the next topic is carbohydrates. I want you to avoid simple carbohydrates. I want you to avoid sugars. I really feel that sugar is nearly a poison, and we should probably try to cut it out of our diet as much as possible. Complex carbohydrates, I'm okay with, and I want you to eat them last. Eat your protein first, eat your healthy fats second, and put those carbs dead last. There's a lot more that we could talk about as it relates to nutrition, and I have links to videos that you can look at. There's an entire discussion on supplements and whatnot, but we'll save that for another video. Jumping back into being 5 for 5. Number 4, in being 5 for 5 in your fight against MS, is the daily practice of mindfulness. So what exactly is mindfulness? Mindfulness is defined as being in the present moment without prejudice. Being in the present moment without telling yourself a movie in your mind about what might happen in the future. Being in the present moment and not worrying about something that happened in the past that you're stuck thinking about. It's really being present in the now. And that may sound kind of cheesy or corny. It's not. We lack that in Western culture. There's very, very few activities that we do where we're truly in the present moment and mindful. On the contrary, we are congratulated when we multitask. So if you can drive and eat a cheeseburger and talk on the cell phone all at the same time, well, good job, Johnny. You did a super job in multitasking. And that's actually really super unhealthy, not just because you're driving and talking. Mindfulness is something that we need to cultivate, and I'm going to give you several different examples. If you are having sex and thinking about something besides sex, that is not mindful, right? Because you're not in the present moment. I want you to look for activities during the course of your day where you can spend just 5 minutes and be in the now. I'm going to give you some examples. Many of you that follow the channel know that I've been doing something that I call shower meditation. Remember how I said I have a lifestyle of showering every morning? Well, when I finish cleaning my body, I sit Indian style in the shower, I close my eyes under the water, and I let myself have whatever thoughts I have. Thoughts come and thoughts go, and I just kind of dismiss them and just keep breathing. And within a few minutes now, I find myself in this nice, awesome zone where I'm just really paying attention to my breathing. And I can really listen to the different sounds of the water. I can feel the water on my body. I can smell the smells in the shower. And I can be present. And I have found that doing that every morning is life-changing. I stand up for my shower meditation and I am ready to tackle whatever the day throws at me. I'll be honest that when I started to do it, I wasn't very good at it. And I really struggled to think about just being in the now. I spent a lot of time worrying about what was going to happen in clinic, and I had to train myself to put that away. So that's one way that I practice mindfulness. You could practice mindful meals. That's where you put the TV off, you put the phone away, you turn the radio off. And if you're fortunate enough to be sitting with friends and family or village members, take a moment to reflect on how awesome it is that you get to be with them right now. Take a moment to reflect about what you get to eat. Be thankful for what you get to eat. Take a moment and literally smell it. Taste it. Spend 5 minutes in the now with a mindful meal. There's a lot of other ways that you can be mindful. Listening to music, if that's the only activity, can be mindful. Yoga can be mindful. Meditation, as I mentioned, can be mindful. Going on a walk outside in the woods, if you put the phone away and spend time in nature, is extremely mindful. And I challenge you, I double dog dare you to insert 5 minutes of mindfulness once a day, every single day. If you have found a form of mindfulness that you really like, do me a favor and leave it in the comments section below so that others who are reading can learn from your experiences. What do you find to be helpful as it relates to mindfulness? I'll look forward to reading your answer as well. Number 5, and being 5 for 5 in your fight against MS, is to take the most effective disease-modifying therapy that you're comfortable with and to make sure that it's working. Now let's unpack that sentence. Disease-modifying therapies are medicines that we can take to slow MS down, to prevent future attacks, to prevent new spots on the MRI, to prevent the accumulation of neurological disability, to slow brain volume loss. These are very, very important medicines. Now there's 27 different formulations that I can count as I make this video at the tail end of 2022. That's very, very exciting. But the medicines are not all equal. Some work better than others. Some, for example, can't slow brain volume loss where others can. They also have completely different side effect profiles. Now I have many videos on this channel about MS disease-modifying therapies, so I'll throw a link up here in case you wanted to check some of those out. And this video is not telling you that you should take drug A and not take drug B. I need you to have a conversation with your MS provider. And it's my goal to get you on the most effective drug that you are comfortable taking. And we accomplish that through a discussion. Once we get you on that drug, whatever that drug is, we then need to monitor to make sure that it's doing what we want. If you start a birth control pill and get pregnant, that didn't work. If you start an MS disease-modifying therapy and you're still having an attack, that's not okay. If you're on a disease-modifying therapy and there's other clinical elements of your life that are going south, Like you're failing the litmus test of life, you're pulling away from activities, that's not okay. We need to talk about that, and that might necessitate us upgrading your disease-modifying therapy. Beyond overt clinical attacks and beyond failing the clinical litmus test of life, there's other ways that we check on your DMT. The MRI, for example. In my patients with MS that I'm treating with the DMT, I check an MRI of the brain at least once a year, and I check an MRI of the cervical spine about every other year or so. And I'm looking for new structural brain and spinal cord damage. I'm looking for new or enlarged spots or enhancing spots. And if I see those while you're on a disease-modifying therapy, that's not okay. That's breakthrough disease activity. And that would sensitize us that, hey, something's not right, and this drug's not doing what we want it to do. Lastly, each time you come into the practice, we're going to run you through the MS Olympics, where we'll check the various neurological examination tests and the functional tests that we like to do. And if we see that you're sliding off that, if you're not doing as well, if the hand is more clumsy, the walk is slower, what have you, that's going to sensitize us that something ain't right. We don't marry our MS disease-modifying therapy. We date it. And as long as that therapy is a gentleman and a scholar, then we're going to keep on keeping on. But if that therapy fails us, we're going to kick it to the curb and we're going to upgrade the therapy. In order to live your very best life despite having MS, I need you to be 5 for 5. And one of the very most important is taking the most effective DMT that you're comfortable with and making sure that it's working. The most impactful way that you could help this channel grow is by watching another video. So if you want to up your game, click the video that's on your screen right now. My name's Aaron Boster, and until my next Monday morning video or my next monthly live stream, or even better yet, the next time I see you at the Boster Center for MS, be safe and take care.